Nelson, great meeting you.
Great meeting you too.
Just before we start, please tell us briefly who you are and what you do.
So my name's Nelson Wootton. I am the CEO and co-founder of Saascada. Saascada is a core banking platform. We provide the product engine to financial institutions, the ledgers, then integrations into local payment systems, international card processors if banks want credit cards or debit card products, and exchanges if they want to bring other assets into core banking.
Is there anything you don't provide?
Oh, yes. Yeah. No, that's good. It's a good question. So everything that sits above that, we talk about that as being a bank's differentiator. So if you go to any country in the world, pick two banks, you'll think that the products are basically the same, money moves in and out exactly the same, but the customer service, the online banking, the process of onboarding customers, those are really different. Those are things that differentiate banks. So we're kind of saying this stuff at the bottom is the same everywhere in the world. Right. The stuff that makes you unique and special to customers, this is where you should focus your energy, your money, your investment.
Indeed. Now, Nelson, we hear there's a lot of providers of core banking and platforms, but Saascada has a very unique story.
We do.
Tell us about where does Saascada come from?
So Saascada, we kind of started on the other side of the journey. My co-founder and I, we launched a bank in the UK for people on low incomes 12 years ago now, and we had to buy core banking software. Right. And we found intrinsically there were some real challenges. Firstly, it's very hard to select vendors. It's very expensive to set up. Right. It's very time consuming to set up. And it's very difficult to change. And in today's modern world, organizations and customers are expecting adaptability. We call it agility. They want things to be different, faster. Mm-hmm. And to kind of help you understand the typical problems that financial institutions face, unbelievably, most banks spend 6 to 8 weeks getting reporting out of their systems. So they're looking at the world nearly 2 months old. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And then if they see an issue in there, they see perhaps customers aren't adopting a product or there's some challenges. If they then have to go back to their core banking vendor to get that product changed, that could be 3 months, and it'll be an IT project, which means it's probably going to be 5 or 6 months. Right. It's going to cost at least 6 figures to make that change happen. Wow. Yeah. And then they're going to have to wait another 2 months to see if the change has actually addressed the issues the customers had. Right. We wanted to shorten this timeline down as much as possible. Right. So for us, it's about creating financial institutions that are very dynamic and are able to respond to customer demands and customer needs and see those customer needs in as near real time as possible. Right. Okay. That's really fascinating. Now, the question that pops to my mind, and I'll talk a little bit more about the technology, but why is focusing on that part of the market, of that segment market, which you would think that traditionally banks would say, like, we don't really touch them, right? It's like an underserved group. When we launched the bank, why did we do it for the underserved? Yeah, that's a great question. So, primarily because banks weren't servicing those people, right? For the very reasons that banks normally say, oh, I don't like those. Why don't they like them is a really important question. Well, in the UK at that time, we'd already had at least a decade and a half of low interest rates, right? Uh-huh. A bank makes money from lending and moving money around. Low interest rates mean if you're only putting a small amount of money in, the bank isn't making anything. And the cost to serve and run and provide services for those customers is high. Exactly. So in truth, the bank look at them and say, you aren't a profitable customer. Right. I'd rather not have you. And at the same time, the government at that time was pressuring banks to offer customers second-class products, right? Banking products that weren't as good as the products that other people were getting. Right. And we thought that was fundamentally wrong. When we looked at it and understood how much banks spend on technology, this was our first primary focus, because that was a place we could save an awful lot of money immediately and create accounts for customers that were profitable for the bank and great accounts for the customers. That's why we started that. Right. Okay. Well, that's super interesting. It's such a great story to hear now. Now tell us, what is the one thing that your platform really stands out for? Like if you were to say, okay, this is what makes you different. Okay. What would that be? So really, there are two things that we do very differently. I know you've asked for one. One of them is real-time data. Mm-hmm. So literally, you can subscribe to a pipe of real-time data coming off of our transaction platform, right? So anytime interest happens, fees happen, transactions happen, you can see all of that stuff in its raw data format in real time. So sophisticated organizations will pour this into kind of data warehousing and do other indexing. But what we actually do is we sit inside that data stream as well, and we build views of that data dynamically for customers. It's really fascinating because it gets you to see what's happening inside your organization, transaction by transaction by transaction. And the second thing we do very, very differently is how we approach financial services products. So almost all core banking systems build the account, and the functionality of the account in code becomes very tightly locked together. What happens is you end up with a silo of code that does lending, a silo of code that does deposit taking, a silo of code that does transactional banking. That means you've got 3 lots of code to deploy, 3 lots of code to change, 3 lots of code to maintain. That's very expensive. And furthermore, making a small change down here can damage or break products in that silo. So you end up doing loads of testing. So in Saascada, what we did is we looked at all the attributes that financial products have, broke them up into small blocks, and allow customers to build blocks of functionality to build any kind of product on our platform. So there's a single code base, which is faster and cheaper to maintain, and you can support lending products, deposit products, transactional products immediately from the first day you get your hands on the platform.
That's really amazing, really fascinating. Now, just one last question. We're here on Stockholm Fintech Week, second half of the first day. What's been your key takeaway so far?
Wow, so much energy here, right? We were unsure whether this is our first time, so we were very unsure what it was going to be like. Tons of really good quality conversations, some super interesting people here, some really great thought leadership stuff going on stage as well. So absolutely 100% we'll be back again. We really love it. It's been a really fascinating event.
That's amazing to hear. Nelson, thank you so much for stepping by. Enjoy the rest of the conference.
All right, take care.
Thank you.